Let's talk a little bit about I guess, the myths of a stagnant government. You're a part of the House, and a lot of times individuals, when they look at the House and the Senate, they look at the government as a whole, and they see a lot of these things being held up, a lot of things not being pushed through. But if you actually look at the history of what the House has done, it's probably been one of the most successful houses in the history of the United States in terms of being in lockstep with the platform of what Obama wanted to lay out, and has been extremely successful. How do you feel when individuals say that the government has not been successful, knowing that the House has passed most of the legislation as it was? We were talking about the public option. They had the public option health care reform. The financial regulatory reform was stronger than what it was supposed to be proposed. Everything was stronger according to the House, but all of a sudden it gets held up when we get to this filibuster, timid nature of the Senate. How do you feel about that when people say that the government, the government itself is not being successful?
I must admit that that is a very frustrating thing for me, because I know how hard we work on the House side to get out legislation, and I must admit our leadership has been very good at sort of moving things along. But then they go to the Senate, and they either stop there, don't move, or either it comes a point where they water it down so that it doesn't do what we would hope that it would. So that is a very frustrating experience. And I could go on and on talking about different pieces of legislation that we passed. And also the delay. Like, for instance, when we tried to create jobs and job opportunities for people. And, of course, how the Senate just kept, letting it stay there and stay there. And then when we passed bill for summer jobs for our young people to be able to earn money to go back to school, how the Senate just ignored it. And that kind of thing, that is frustrating.
Right.
And I'm hoping that as we move forward, that they will get to the message that we are not doing what we need to do in order to move this country forward. The House seems to get it, but for some reason the Senate is reluctant to do the kind of things that need to be done during this difficult period.
Do we need a majority vote in the Senate, do you feel? Is that something that as a country that we should be focused on in terms of trying to push forward?
I think that we should. I think that a majority vote is what really needs to happen. If you have the majority, that's a democratic process.
Right.
And of course, and if you win by one vote, you win by two, whatever it is, then I think that that should be the passing of legislation. This number of 60 is utterly ridiculous, and I think that it just slows down things and stops things from happening that are really good and what people could use to benefit and to improve the quality of life.
And in terms of the success of the House, again, as far as I'm concerned, this has been one of the most successful houses in the history of the country to really push forward the agenda of the president and be on the side of the president. What, in terms of your role in that House, that has been a success, again, with great leadership, I have to commend Nancy Pelosi for the work that she's been doing.
I join you in that, yes.
What are the top 3 pieces of legislation that you feel that you've been working on that people from right here in this district have benefited from?
Well, I think that, first of all, the health care reform. I really feel that a lot of people in this district benefited from health care reform because there were some major things there. And of course, it's not a perfect piece of legislation, but the pre-existing conditions, I think that was something that many people in our district benefited from. And the fact that a son or daughter can stay on your insurance until they're 26 after coming out of college, that was major. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And the fact that we reduced the number of people that had no health insurance, this legislation did that substantially. And that, to me, is very, very important. So that was an important piece of legislation. The other one was extending unemployment.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are unemployed, looking for jobs every day, getting up, going out, knocking on doors, but the point is that they can't find anything. So to extend it, I really feel that that was very, very important piece of legislation. And then there's another piece of legislation that I think that is about fairness that I'm working on, that a lot of people have not thought a lot about it, and some people have said, well, it's not necessary. But anytime there's a situation that deals with fairness, you'll find that I'm there. And that is the bathroom parity that, as you probably have seen over and over again, that where the long lines for women to get into the ladies' room, long lines. And in some instances, you have buildings that were built in the old days did not even take women into consideration. And so these are problems that I think need to be rectified. In fact, there are more women in the world than men. Women are now in the workforce. I just returned from Afghanistan, and I saw all these females in the military. Well, there were some facilities that didn't even have any bathroom arrangements for women. That's something that we need to bring about, fairness. And I've seen in airports where women in long lines, and of course, I'm trying to get this legislation through to be able to rectify that situation. But I think it's very unfair.